reminder of just how, there was really 10 or 15, even less than 10 people that were just crucial in this campaign, how he was really in charge of public relations, which she talked about in her testimony initially, that he was reading all the media, he was very involved in all of the strategy, media strategy for various issues, including the allegations of various women who came forward.
That's such an important point. This was in no way, shape, or form a traditional presidential campaign. Lisa and Sue, thank you as always for spending your lunch with us. I don't know when you guys eat, but thank you. Joining us now, MSNBC legal analyst Christy Greenberg, who has also been in the court overflow room today. One of the things we were talking about before, Christy, was the introduction, at least initially, of this big article that came out in the Wall Street Journal, kind of the first major exposure of all this. I wonder what you think of that as a piece of evidence.
So this was a hugely significant portion of Hope Hicks's testimony. She testified that just in the days before the election, that this Wall Street Journal article came out exposing the the National Enquirer, essentially squashing the story for Donald Trump. And so Hope Hicks testified that she called Michael Cohen about it. Michael Cohen denied knowing anything about it. He lied to her. And then she called David Pecker at AMI. And David Pecker went with the story. Hey, this was a legitimate contract that we had with Karen McDougal to do magazine covers. And what was significant about that is Donald Trump then followed up with Hope Hicks and said, what did David Pecker tell you? Right? In other words, Donald Trump wanted to know, was David Pecker sticking to their cover story, that this had nothing to do with hush money, this was about a legitimate contract? And so I thought that was a really important point for the prosecution to bring out. It's also showing that Hope Hicks is pretty credible here, that she really didn't know anything about these hush money payments. She's trying to find out information. They're not telling her what's going on. And that was made all the more credible by when she testified. She said, I was hired 4 years out of college. I was hired to be the campaign press secretary, sort of as a joke. I had no experience, but then I was around the campaign a lot, and so I got that title, right? She's there every day. She's talking to Donald Trump, but she really wasn't part of the inner circle cleaning up his dirty work. So she came across as very credible, and Donald Trump's reaction to that story and wanting to make sure everybody was sticking to their stories was an important point for the prosecution.
Christy Greenberg, thank you for that. Eli, again, I think that what we just talked about is so smart. When these various things came out, the Access Hollywood tape or the Wall Street Journal, and Donald Trump became aware of them, a very small number of people were people he really trusted, right? And some of those people, presumably now, as we sort of apply this, Donald Trump, who keeps very closely the people he trusts, whether it's in his business, his family business, or whether it's in the campaign, or whether it was in the White House. Moving forward, as he faces this, he has the campaign, he has 3 other potential trials coming up. The level of closeness, I guess you would say, and the fact that some of the people, maybe even at that time that he was counting on, I'm thinking, for example, Jared and Ivanka, who have gone off to do other things, however you want to phrase it, who is there for him, really, besides his lawyers, as he moves forward into this very critical time, both in the campaign and in the trials?
Well, a lot of those original associates are no longer there because they've been subpoenaed or they've been forced to plead guilty to various crimes as a result of their work for him and the demands, agreeing to his demands that basically they would do whatever he needed them to do. That's the kind of loyalty that Donald Trump required for people who were working in his organization. Now there are different people who have basically put themselves down at Mar-a-Lago, aides from the White House, the Trump White House, campaign aides, other hangers-on, people who want to be in his orbit, who are there sort of as a support system for him. It's a slightly different team than some of these originals, but he still has that network. But you've seen it as fast as he goes through lawyers, as quickly as he goes through staff sometimes. There's a professional campaign folks who are running the Trump presidential campaign. There are other advisors who have been in his orbit a long time. And there are other sort of personal aides who are there to assist him, to travel with him, to sort of fill out his entourage. So those people are still there. They're just different faces. But throughout all of this, right, the through line is that Donald Trump is sort of, this singular phenomenon. Everything revolves around him. Very little happens without him knowing about it, without him signing off on it or directing it. And so I think that is one of the things that Hope Hicks was testifying about today in court, going back to 2016. And that is still going to be the situation in terms of the way Donald Trump is sort of approaching the day-to-day with this trial and certainly the campaign. And it's just, that's been sort of how he runs his show, for decades. That it's him calling the shots, him making the decisions, and the people around him are there to kind of carry out, his wishes and to make the messes go away.
Exactly the points that so far with key witnesses the prosecution has been making. Eli Stogels, Katie Fang, thank you both. Charles Coleman, you're going to stay with me. Up next, while we wait for Hope Hicks' testimony to resume, and we're less than half an hour away, and Judge Rashan has been running a pretty tight ship in terms of timing. Trump trial zoom out, the most critical witnesses, the most valuable testimony so far, and what legal experts are watching for going forward. Our coverage continues right after this.
T-Mobile savings, take one, focus. Here's a lot. At T-Mobile, you get tons of benefits and you can still save versus the other guys. Okay.
So as I start the recording, sometimes there's a little banner or a box that jumps on your screen that blocks what you can see. So you have to click OK or got it or something that clears that out. So James Freeland, yeah, I don't know if there's something you have to do on your screen. But now it's recording so that you have access to this through the week. And of course, there's access to all the previous videos as well through the PD-active YouTube channel. So you can use that. But again, we're scooting to the front edge of the chair. So just that by itself is a solid and quality exercise. This spinal, what they call the vertical core in Western fitness. It's kind of a newer term, actually, because we use the term core, like doing sit-ups and other things to strengthen the obvious outer core, six-pack muscles and stomach muscles and things like that, but also the vertical core. If you picture your spinal column, you got your skull and then your spine and then your pelvis. Well, there's a very deep chassis or layer of musculature tying all of that together. And so a lot of times people who do strength training, they have a lot of outer body muscles, but they never address their deep central chassis. And so then the body has a lot of pain. There's limited athleticism, balance, agility, that type of thing. And so now they're starting to recognize that more in Western fitness. And then with Tai Chi and Taoist practice, which is what we're doing, you can think of it as it's kind of another level to that, where we are softening the outer body and releasing any tension throughout. So we're not trying to be all muscle bound. We're trying to relax that. And then also get to that deep, deep, deep chassis as well, and have that also be something that, again, soft does not mean weak or atrophied or disconnected, right? That's a different problem. That's a different state. We can have something that's overdeveloped, too tense, or something that's underdeveloped and collapsed. But what we're looking for is this perfect state of sung, or supple, pliable. There's flow, electricity, blood, plasma, juice flowing through these areas. And so we want that not just in our outer layer, but importantly at this deep chassis. So that's your vertical core, or your zhongzheng. So in the Chinese term, zhongzheng means central upright. So find that central upright by sitting at the front edge of your chair arranging crown above perineum, crown tippy top of head, perineum, that spot right up in between there. So those are like two ends of a battery, positive end, negative end of a battery, right? So we're arranging all of that and then relaxing. When we relax, don't lose your zhong zheng. And what'll happen is, instead of a collapsed slouching, what'll happen is a sort of gravitational, natural grounding process through the chair, through your legs. And then, so that's like gravity, and then the opposite of gravity, levity, lightness, ease, buoyant, upright. So how do we get good posture? Instead of thinking of it like put it there and hold it, it's not that. It's arrange it and then let go and relax. And what that does functionally for us is it improves function, the ability to use and move the body. So our first exercise is breathing. So if I was really stuck and stiff and holding my body, I have less room for breath. So relaxed body, now all of a sudden I can pull in a big breath, and that soft quality is what allows the expansion, and then relaxing and melting that breath out and emptying completely. And then when you're ready, you inhale again. And then you exhale again. So this is a proof. It's like I'm proving the concept of the Taoist approach, that it is better to be relaxed and soft for something like breathing. The tighter I am, the less room I have for that movement of breath. The more soft and relaxed, then there's this room for robust, full breath, right? So that's our initial practice, is sit, arrange your parts, and breathe. And if all you did was this a couple different times during your day, you'd be kickstarting that motor, that engine of life force, and of improving your function. So you could do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes on your own, but in our class today, we're going to move to the next phase. Slide your hands back, elbows back, shoulder blades back, right? So your hands are down here. So James, put your hands down on your thighs there, right? So back, and then lift the chest and look up to the sky. So just hold that shape for a little bit. So you're doing spinal extension, you're arching, you're looking up, you're trying to open up the ability for your body to make that shape. And then we do the opposite shape. So slide your hands forward past your knees, hollow your chest back, and drop the head. So now we're doing the exact opposite. This is called spinal flexion, rounding, dropping, releasing. And then let's do it again. Slide your hands back, elbows back, shoulder blades back. Lift the chest, lift the chin, look up to the sky. Spinal extension, right? Reaching up through the crown and the nose, tip of the nose, arching. And then slide the hands forward and hollow the chest and round the back. And then again, sliding hands. So what these movements do, these are called Shen Fa in the Taoist practice, body mechanism techniques. So we're inducing these mechanisms of the spinal column, of the shoulder blades, these functional mechanisms in the body that for most of us are stuck somewhere along the range. And it doesn't really matter where you're stuck. You could be stuck looking like you have terrible posture, or you could be stuck looking like you have great posture, but you're stuck. So the goal here is to unstick, to unglue, to free, to liberate every moving part of your body in every direction that it's built to move. Now settle back to neutral and just sit for a moment and feel what may have changed. Again, if you're doing it right, doing it thoroughly, you will feel something has changed, some sort of space inside, as I like to call it, real estate. The most valuable real estate on the planet that you cannot buy is inside. You can't buy it, you have to cultivate it, you have to open it up, right? Now, slide your left hand forward past your knee, right hand and elbow back, turn your shoulders, turn your head. So now we're rotating. And then switch. So we turn back to center, right hand goes forward, left hand and elbow goes back, turn. And then we switch again. Turning. So the same idea. Again, there's a limit to how far the body is built to turn. And then there's the limit that's imposed upon you based on lack of strength, lack of awareness, lack of control, lack of functional practice, right? And so that's what we're doing here is we're trying to open up those limits that are imposed upon us, right? And Parkinson's adds a certain component to those limitations, but we're breaking through those. We're moving past these limits so that we can get to the actual functional limit where it's like, okay, once I get there, my body's not supposed to twist any further. Then I'd be hurting myself. So then I'm there, right? And then all the way back to the other side. Let's do one more each way. And once again, you'll find, especially those of you that have been practicing for a while, that softness is your best bet. Relaxing is your best bet because it allows for all this control and all this freedom of movement when compared to tightening and yanking on the body and forcing it. Now, hang your arms loose. Now, sideways, leaning, tipping. So just notice that my groundedness is still present. I'm allowing a sort of heaviness down through the chair, and then I'm bowing or bending this way. And then coming back up to center, and then bowing. Right? Lean. And then back to center. Now, to add to the effectiveness of this, as you bow your spinal column, lift your left wrist up, just right in front of you, just very relaxed, like it's got a string tied to the wrist, and it's just being pulled up, like so. And that allows you to tip a little bit further, and you can even lift your left foot off the ground so that we're sort of flirting with disaster here. And then we come all the way back to neutral. So finding Zhongjung, central upright. And then we're leaning and lift this right wrist like there's a string tied to the wrist. And that right foot could be a little empty and just be relaxed, be loose. And then back to Zhongjung, center. Everything relaxed, shoulders soft, arms loose. And then we lean, soft. And then back to center. So there's this term we all maybe have heard, a paradox. A paradox. Two seemingly opposite ideas that are both equally true. Right? That's why the world is such a confusing place in so many ways, right? There's two things going on sometimes that are just, they're both happening, but they don't really compute well. And our Tai Chi practice is kind of like that. How is it that by being totally relaxed, loose, and free, am I the most stable and still? You would think those two things don't go together, but they do, right? And it's this idea that we have a middle pivot, a middle space in here. Let's come back to the middle here and just rest. So there's idea that there's almost like you could think of it as I think of it like literally empty space. And what allows it to be still is that all this movement can go through it, across it, in front of it, behind it, all around it freely with no limit. So there's no block here. It's just total freedom and movement, right? Now, bend your elbows. Oh, I'm sorry, shoulder blades. Now, scapular movement up, right? Shrug up, slide down. So this is very important because it's the most complicated joint in the body. The scapula, up, down. So that's one movement that the scapula do. Do it again, up and down. Now the other movement that they do, squeeze back, relax, and spread apart. They call that retraction, squeeze back, retract, relax to neutral, and then protract, opening. So the shoulder blade is sliding around, and then back. One more time, retract. It opens here, right? Feel how that opens this space. And then down. So James, when I point to things like this, James Freeland, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm making a point here, but we're just doing just the basic movement, right? So don't get caught up in the little movements of my hand, okay? Now, bring your shoulder blades forward and up, and then back and down. And remember, neutral. And then forward and up, back and down. Neutral. So neutral is just hanging out. Then we're going forward, and it looks, you know, this black shirt's not the best for seeing, so I apologize for that. Up, back, down, under. Again, forward, up, back, down. Now reversing, going back, then up, forward, then down, under, back, up, over, down, under, back and up, over top and down. One more. So James, what are you doing with your hands? Just drop your arms. Just put them down. Yeah. We're just here. Just shoulder blades, right? Okay. Now, again, we could spend a lot of time doing all the joint mobilization, but the ones we've done so far are just your sort of basics, right? Now, arms relaxed and loose, right? Ideally, we've softened the shoulders, this area. So now float your arms up in front and then just swing. Swing. So this is a good exercise for feeling the quality that we want in our shoulders. Notice how it's different than me holding my arms and moving them. That's me grabbing on here versus let go. Let go. Let go. Let go. One more. Let go. And then just let your arms swing and come to stillness. Let them just hang. Okay, scoot back on your chair a little bit, and we're going to go right knee up, pull the foot in, pull the heel towards the butt a little bit, and then push. All right, push the leg straight, and then bring it back up, and then set that foot on the ground. Switch, other leg, load it, right, pull up and in, push away, reload it, and down. Switch legs. So this is called chambering. and then we're issuing out like we're doing a push with the foot, and then rechamber down. Other leg, chamber, push, chamber, down. Chamber and push, chamber and down. Remember, freedom of movement through the entire range of the joints. Now, straighten your right leg, point and flex. Point, flex. Freedom of movement through the whole range of that joint. And then tilt the foot in, tilt the foot out. This one's usually a little bit odd. All right, it's called invert, evert. Now circle, go in, around, and out. In, around, and out. Circle, freedom of movement. And reverse. Again, that paradox I was talking about. How is it that by my foot being free, do I actually have more balance on that foot? Usually we think, well, we got to have it be really strong and stable to have good balance. In fact, that's not the case. It actually has to have freedom of movement, functionally. Now, other foot, straighten, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. Now we do a little tilt, foot tilt in, out, in, out, in. And then we circle, in, around, and out. And reverse circle, out, around, and in. And down. Scoot forward, front edge of your chair, like we had at the beginning. Last little joint mobilization set here. Step a little wider than hip distance. Lift your toes off the ground, the heels stay touching the ground, turn. So notice in my body how my knees have come in, but also my toes are turned in, which is different than if I just collapse my legs in. This not good, this is good. Now, open, lift your toes and open. And then lift your toes, close. So this real estate concept, pelvis, leg bones meeting at this junction in the hips and groin. Tai Chi folk call that the qua. The qua. And it's very important that we have an open qua, or a qua that's open for business, that's able to function, or else we're clumsy when we move around. Now, neutral. Same qua, forward fold, hip hinge. So now the legs aren't moving, right? The legs are stable, but the pelvis is hinging, and then vertical, and then leaning just a bit back, and then vertical, and then fold, and vertical, and lean, and vertical. Now we're going to use all of the things that we've just done, everything we've set up to use Tai Chi power. Rather than force, we're going to just relax and stand up, right? So you slide your feet back a little bit, right? So slide your feet back just a bit. Arms are loose like we worked on here. Hip hinge. So as I hip hinge, if my arms are loose, they naturally find their way here. I'm not holding my arms like that. They're loose, so let them hang. And then the first gesture is forward. So notice this shape that I'm in. I haven't stood up yet, but I'm no longer sitting in my chair. Now, push down through the ground and go tall, all the way upright. And then to sit down, it's the same idea from the qua, hip hinge. Notice I have not bent my knees. I'm just folded a little bit. Now that I've folded, I can just keep folding. Now I allow the knees to bend, sink, You can find your chair there with your tush, and then vertical. Fold, no effort, just pour yourself out of the chair forward, and then just grounding down to rise up nice and tall. And then hip hinge, and fold, and sit. So we're just using hydraulics, liquid, fluid, ease to stand up. Okay, now don't sit in your chair, but use that mechanism. Use these mechanisms to sink and then stand. So don't sit in your chair. But a lot of times, one of the main mistakes people do with this exercise are two things. They either punch their knees forward first, which hurts the knee joints over time, or they don't bend at all and they just go down like this. So we're doing all of it together from the quad, from the hips. That's what organizes this movement, so that basically you can feel like your body's doing nothing. You're just relaxing and going, oh, fold and sink, and then rise, and then sink, and then rise. So here we are standing. Now we're going to do Tai Chi, which starts to add a bit of complexity to our movements. So here we are standing. We're allowing a soft quality through the knees, shoulders, everything's loose. So again, instead of standing and holding on to our body, which is what most of us are accustomed to doing, with Tai Chi, you're practicing melting that out of your body, melting and relaxing it. Now, from standing position, our first movement is called rising hands. So, like so, rising up. And notice the wrists are relaxed. Notice my elbows are not locked all straight. There's a openness through all the joints. And then this little change. Right? Notice I haven't started sweeping my hands down, but something has changed. And then now, down, and a little bit behind. And then the same thing here, something has to change because I don't go back up like this. So as I finish, soften the wrists. See that little change there? Change. And then, right. And then that little change. And then that little change. Right. So this other technical term, Taoist Tai Chi technical term, Xuen, meaning like the river. So if you're doing the practice right, each round you're more Xuen, more like the river, like the flow of water. You're not fighting or forcing or yanking the body. You're just easing, floating. Now, scoop your hands in front. Open. So the same arm movement, just at a different angle and relationship to your body. Open. And sweep. It's called the crane opening its wings. Wow. That big space all through here. Open. And now, crane. Now from here, turn your arms so your palms face up. Now the way is open for a simple bend of the elbows to bring the hands right into this little space in front of you. And then down. And then release completely. And then wing. And then roll. And then fold. And fall through that space. Wing, roll, fold. Eventually this is Xuen. seamless. So James, you're doing it backwards. We're going out. James, take your arms out, then turn your palms up, fold over the top, and then down through the middle. We'll do one more like that. Out. Nope, out, James. Out to the sides. Out. You see how my arms are going to the side? Out. Turn your palms up, fold over top, and down. Now we go in the other direction. We go towards each other, up through the middle, and then float over the top, down. In towards each other, up right in front of you, over the top, out to the wings, and then down. In, up, over, down. Now we put all those together in a different combination. Wing, turn right palm up. Now this hand goes over top as this hand comes underneath. Here. And then like two magnets attract, two magnets repel. Then right hand over top as left hand comes underneath. Together they move. Then turn left palm up, right palm under. We roll over the top and under the bottom, and then together, apart, and go. So then this word Schwen. So once you get the basic of what the thing is, the choreography, those of you that have been doing it a while, you know this Embrace the Moon movement. Then you get to add the sort of imagination piece, the poetic imagery piece of smooth and fluid and like the river. Wow. So then it starts to have impact, nourishing the joints and calming the nerves. Because at first we don't know what we're doing. So we're going, what is this? Is it left hand, right hand, up, down? What is going on? And that can be disturbing, but in a good way. It's like a challenge. But then once you get comfortable with these movements, let's go down, then you start to be able to have these layers of the practice available. So now come up, turn the palms over, down, loose, up, turn palms, down, release. Add to this the whole body. When you come up, straighten the legs, lift up, stay tall. And ideally what you feel here is even though you're sort of lifting everything, you don't lose the groundedness. You're not feeling like you're about to fall over because again, you're keeping everything relaxed. So there's still that ground. And then here you just let it settle like sediment in a cup of water, settling down, 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 and through. And hold nothing. Have nothing held in your body. And then we again rise, straightening the legs, lifting up, and then get this quality of on or settling down. And let go of everything. Relax. Now, bring the hands up just in front of the chest, elbows pull back, turn your palms forward, and this is the push. So now we're going push. And notice the shape of my hand, it isn't this, that's kinking, but it's also not this. So that's another piece of this Tai Chi hand position, is this Schwen, this flow, all the way through, and then wrap around and draw And the same thing, when I'm drawing, I'm not forcing something, not forcing things in the joints. It's just relaxed all the way back. And then turn the hands, push. All the way. Now, try to go a little further than you normally would. Go further, longer. How far away could you reach without getting pulled off of the ground? So create that dynamic separation between being grounded and also reaching forward. And this should open all this back channel all the way up through the shoulders as you push. And then draw all the way back. Very good for the nervous system, this movement, because the nerves flow out of the spine back first. So that's one of the reasons why the Tai Chi people, it's very valuable to train Tai Chi with nervous system issues, is because here you're opening all the space for the electrical flow, getting that back to open, and then bringing it back soft. Let's do one more. Push. And open all those back channels. And return. Turn left hand palm forward. Push. Now, as you push through that left hand, this causes a little turn, a little rotation. Turn the left palm to face, right palm to face forward, and then one draw, one push, and let it turn your middle. Now notice, Janona, don't push across your body for this one. Push forward, because that really finds this turning place in the middle of the body. Turn. And then turn right palm, turn left palm, and push and draw. And then turn, turn, push and draw. Turn, turn, push and draw. Now, can you get a little schwen, a little flow? So it reaches its end, it softens and changes, and then softens and changes, and then softens and changes, and flow. Softens, changes, flow. And then bring both hands back, settle down, and so now we've established our rotating middle. Now change your weight to your right leg a little bit, and then change to the left leg a little bit. And just do this again with that quality of soft down through. So you're just letting the weight go down. Now add to this a little bit of a turn from your middle pivot. So as you shift into your right leg, turn from your middle. And then as you shift into the left leg, turn. And then just very naturally, the hands, arms, which are connected to the torso, start to do a little something. And then we get specific with that something, and we say, okay, we're doing the bear, washing, pause, and the stream. Shift and turn, brush and sweep. And I'll come closer so you can see the hand position. Turn, turn. So shift and turn, brush knee looks like that. Sweep the leg looks like that. And then they change. Shift and turn, brush knee, sweep the leg. And then shift and turn. Naturally, the movements start to take up a little more space, because as the joints and tissues and mechanisms become a little more sung, then it's very easy to start exploring the space in front of you with the joints, and it feels good to the body. It's what the body wants to do. So then it starts to become the bear swirling the stream, where the brush knee comes close to the body, but now this hand goes far away, like out in front of you, right? Look how far away I am. That's, maybe 2 feet, right, in front, but notice I didn't lift yet. It's out, comes around, comes in close, and now this one, brush knee close, and this goes far away and comes in close. Shift and turn, brush and sweep. Shift and turn, brush and swirl. Now, still brush knee, but this hand raises up a little bit. Shift and turn, brush knee, swat the jumping fish. Now that hand falls down to the side, and this one floats up, and now we've got shift and turn, brush knee, swat the fish, and then down, and they switch. And just be clear on low and high, and then be clear on the switch, so that your brain gets good at being the middle, or organizing around the middle all this freedom of movement. Freedom of movement. Then we start going a little higher with the bear paw. So we're reaching way up that high jumping fish, but the low hand still sweeps through. It doesn't get stuck. And then they change. So now we add this raising up like we did before. Straight legs, reaching as high as you can reach. And then as this hand comes down, settle through the body. Settle down. And then as we go this way, there's that rise. So you're long, you're reaching to the highest possible shelf there, and then as it's coming down, there's this settling. So we feel that quality of settling. And then it's this reach, brush knee. Remember, the most valuable real estate on the market is not for sale. You can't buy it. It's inside your body. It's every relationship between every layer of your tissue and your joints, and the real estate for your nerves to flow through, especially thinking of Parkinson's, right? Tension, your nerves have enough trouble dealing with this body. You don't want to add a bunch of traffic jams. So we're opening that space. Now, stay in your right leg. Left hand comes down, go wing, roll, fold. So we're loaded into the right leg, left foot is empty. Now we're shifting, turning, brush knee, and push. Now, one hand down, the other wing, roll, fold. Now we're going shift and turn and brush, push. Let it go through, long, and then they just naturally reorbit back. Shift and turn and brush and push. Let it flow through. Reorbit back and shift and turn, brush and push. Let it go through. Return. Let's do two more each way. Remember this term, Schwen. Schwen. We have to go slow enough to organize or to get all the chi people on the bus. But we can't go so slow that we're stagnant, right? Where you sort of feel like you're stopping the Schwen, stopping the flow. And so that's again this space that we practice with Tai Chi. It's not too fast and it's also not too slow. It's just right there. And hands come down. Now, this have your left foot empty, step it a little bit behind you, toes turned out. Shift your weight into that back leg and put your right foot in front, toe touching, empty. So just this little position here. And notice how I'm not halfway between the two. I'm 100 and 0. Okay? And then bring this foot back, still 0, and then change. So now it's 100, 0. right? This toe just floats out, right? And then bring that empty foot back, still 0, and then change 100 and 0. And then bring the foot back, change 100. Now, with your left foot out in front, bend left elbow, point fingers to the sky. Right hand, just dip the hand down in the water. So bring some life and awareness to the limbs here. Now bring left foot back, nothing changes. Then as you shift, left hand goes down, right elbow bend, and right foot out. Bring the foot back, nothing changes. Now try to do all this simultaneous. As you change the weight, right hand goes down, left elbow bend, left foot empty, left foot step in front. And bring the foot back, nothing changes. Now keep a mind on this idea that you have a middle pivot. So the whole body is slightly changing. All these arrangements, all the little relationships change. But inwardly, there's this steady place. So the foot comes back, the weight is changing. One is full, the other empty. One is high, the other low. This is empty. Then we come back and change. So that middle spot is kind of moving in space, but sort of a quality of no movement. Stillness inside of movement. And that's where that feeling of stability and steadiness comes from that Tai Chi offers, that how it improves our balance. And wash your paws. Now, bottom hand, right hand, sweep the lake, raise up. Now we've got cloud and lake. So shift and turn. Cloud in the sky, lake on the bottom. And then they change. Lake vapors up, becomes a cloud. Cloud rains down, becomes the lake. And then we're going shift and turn. So notice, Deborah, notice how what happened there for you. I'm going to mimic it. You did all this, but your cloud was stuck back here. Versus, notice here, as I shift and turn, my cloud is moving, but I'm not moving it separately. So I'm also not letting it get stuck. So being relaxed, it naturally comes along for the ride. And then at the end, we actually let it go. We actually move the hands and arms themselves so that they can flow through and change. And then here, so as I shift, both hands are being drawn along, coming along for the ride. As I turn, they're also moving. But they're moving because of the turning of the torso, not because of independent movement. So it's shift and turn and cloud, and then let the limbs go through. So this is Schwen. This has that flow of shift, turn, Schwen, flow, 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 flow. And then we sort of load up, we're all stored, and shift and turn, flow. Schwen, all the way through. And then again, change leg, turn from middle pivot, cloud, lake, through. Shift and turn, through. Hands play with cloud. And now stay in your right leg. Put your right arm behind you, left arm down low, palm facing up. Now the hand goes forward first, and then up at a diagonal till you get to here. And then turn the palm out and sweep. And then shift right, turn right to here. Now the hand starts by going forward as you shift and turn a flying diagonal up, the palm facing up. Right, so notice how the palm is like this the whole way, then turns out, sweeps down, sweeps across, bottom of a ball, and then goes forward and up at this diagonal. And then turn the palm out, down. So now, see if you can get this to feel like it's all being operated from your middle. So it's this shift, turn. And Karen, remember hand palm up, right? Palm up throughout. And then we get that rotation and down. So again, this is the mechanism functions. One more, palm facing up, right? Which is demanding on the shoulder and all the tissue lines and pathways and mechanisms. And then down. Now, bring that right hand out. Place the left hand behind your back. Sweep, come underneath. Now we're going forward and at this upward diagonal. Again, like you're carrying something in your palm. So imagine you have a marble in your palm as you're coming up and across. And then you turn the palm out, come down, scoop. Now you get another marble in your hand. Don't drop that marble as you go forward and up, across, and then turn out, sweep, and shift and turn, flying diagonal up to that corner, turn the palm out, wing, sweep, bottom of ball, in. Sweep. Then both hands out. Scoop left hand under, right hand over. Palms stay facing each other, right, from a distance. And they go along this line and back. And again, along that line and back. Now the exact same movement just turned slightly on a diagonal so that this hand is doing the flying diagonal. This hand is doing down. And so then together that is the stroking the wild horse's mane. Then turn left palm out, right palm up, embracing the moon. And stroke wild horse's mane. Turn both palms and then embrace the moon. Now, as you embrace the moon, shift to the right leg, turn to the right. And then we shift left, turn left while issuing this movement. And then turn the palms, embrace the moon, rewinding and gathering, and then issuing. And turn. Yeah. And then from the ball, take the right hand down, turn the left palm, come back to center. And right hand under, left hand over. Now we go stroke, return. Now do that on the diagonal. And again, on the diagonal, stroking wild horse's mane. And then turn right palm out, left palm up. Embrace the moon. Now, as you're finishing embrace the moon, turn left. So we're all gathered up. And then issuing. Stroke wild horse's mane. Shift right, turn right, extend. And then just remember the idea of the middle. So everything communicating through this idea of this middle in the belly, low back region. Shift and turn, so we're changing which leg is yang, which is yin, or full or empty. We're changing which hand is high, which hand is low. We're changing which direction we're facing and turning. Again, we're cultivating freedom of movement through all ranges, organized around internal stillness, internal space. And that gives us this fruit. The fruit of the practice is this feeling of like, which is why I think it has such positive implication for Parkinson's. And I've seen it with people that I'm working with, and I think some of you have felt it, is this soothing quality that sort of overwhelms whatever all these little symptoms are that are kicking up and going. And then when you really just wash through the system, this idea of just ease and flow and sort of organized yet liberated. And then we're going to do one sort of newer one. It's not new, but it's one we don't do as much, called the white crane. So the footwork is the same as the golden rooster one we did earlier. So this foot, have it turned out a little bit, shift the weight, and touch the floor, right? And then bring this foot back, change, touch the floor. Come back, change. Now, one addition to this movement is instead of the foot going straight ahead, we turn on the hips slightly and angle to this little corner, telephone booth corner. And that happens in the hips. So on this standing leg pelvis, there's this little turn. A little bit of a turnout in this leg as well. Just a little change. And then bring that foot back. Change the weight. Bring that foot out and have a little bit of a turn, an angling towards that corner. And then bring the foot back. Change. And turn. Now the hands. This leg, this hand is down and turned out slightly. This hand is up, and imagine the sun is shining in and you're trying to protect your eyes from seeing, from the sun coming in. So it's just this little position here, right? Now step this foot back and create the ball. Change the weight to your left leg. The hands just pass right by each other. So there's this move. Then the foot goes out, turns slightly to the corner, and then we finish by finishing this out. So the palm turned out, and this palm turning up. So they were going da 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 da, and then there's this kind of I often say like a flourish, but it's not some crazy, flourish. It's just this finishing touch, right? So then step the foot back, palms face each other, and they pass, right? And then as you're turning slightly to the corner, turn that top hand to block the sun, bottom hand gets slightly to the outside, right? Slightly to the outside of that knee. Then bring the foot back, the palms turn to face each other again. Passing, 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 passing. And then arrive. The white crane. The foot comes back and the hands turn to face each other. So that happens together. and the weight change happens, and the hands are passing, and then you want to time it so that the foot arrives and the hands do that finishing flourish together. And then stepping back, hands face each other. Change. The foot is empty and the slight turn, white cream. And then the palms face, chain. Turn and cream. Back, chain. Face, chain. One more each way. Schwing. So once you understand the movement, then you start to create the opportunity to practice schwing. Fluid. And wing, roll, fold, settle. And then just to have a bit of a more nourishing quality, we go palms together, rub, back of one hand, palms, back of other hand, palms. Then groin area, quad, hip flexors, tail, lumbar. Then like you're sitting for a squat, sweep the hands down the outside of the legs, around to the inside, stand up, come up the inseam all the way to the navel. Do it again. Quad, hip flexors, around to the tailbone, up onto the lower back, and then sweep down the outside, around to the inside, up the inside, to the navel. And then one more time. Quad, hip flexors, tail, low back, sweep, up, and last movement, up the outer, turn, down the inner, and off. Up the outer, down the inner, and up the outer. An important part right here, Janet. Yeah, so it goes off the fingertips all the way. You can kind of pause at the wrist and then go shah, clear it off. And then eventually it just goes. And for this gesture, just settling the mind down, settling the chi from the outside in, and then place one hand on the belly, other hand on top. And then grab, fold. Thank you, everybody. Great job. So any questions, feel free to unmute.
I have a question.
Sure. What's up, Lana?
When my hands are, after a period of time, they get very cold. The circulation sort of stops when they're floppy. I have
Well,
cold.
the circulation may stop sort of early on when they get loose like that.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, and I have experienced this and many people report it, is that it actually, the flow should improve over time, especially as you relax and move all the spaces along the way. So these movements should be yielding
Warmth.
yeah, chi flow, blood flow, nerve flow over time. But yeah, you know, and sometimes that coldness is just you're starting to notice, like maybe they were cold before,
I
But,
can tell the difference. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
well, and maybe they were cold, but you just weren't sensing it as much. So that can be a part of it, is that you're increasing awareness of the hand, and then you're like, my hands are cold, you know, whereas a lot of times we can have cold hands, but we're so accustomed to it that we don't notice it. So that's also maybe going on as well. But the idea is the softer, looser, but not weak and sort of collapsed, because that can create bad circulation. So it's this movement while in a state of soft that creates this plumpness. And I don't know if any of you felt that during the practice, where somewhere along the way, all of a sudden you're aware of like a soft, plump redness in the hands and out to the fingertips. And you sort of go, well, that's nice. And so that's what a lot of Tai Chi people talk about, that's a good sign that that you're starting to get some of this throughway open. So that's a long answer, but you know, hopefully something in there for you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okie dokie. Have a good one. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Have a good
see you next time.
weekend. See you Monday.
Yeah. Bye.